Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another crypto market update. My name is Brendan from Crypto 101, and despite seeing the crypto market slow down over the past few days, we're seeing some pretty big catalysts happening in the background that could prepare us for our next major move. And that's exactly what I want to talk about in today's video, because this is the kind of stuff that I feel like everyone needs to be paying attention to, and not everyone is talking about, at least not as of yet. So all that we ask here is that if you like the content that we put out completely for free, then consider hitting that like button, consider hitting that subscribe button, and if you really like the content, then check out some of those links in the description down below. Now, without further ado, what are some of these catalysts and what has been happening with price? Well, I think the first thing that we need to talk about, even before we look at price, is talk about how the supply of Bitcoin continues to shrink. Now, a lot of people understand that this happens over time with the Bitcoin halving, right? Bitcoin becomes more and more rare, and not only how it is mined, but also it tends to be lost over time as well. Well, what we've seen here for a while now is that Bitcoin's actual supply has been shrinking. In fact, here's a headline saying, hey, 2.5 million Bitcoin are left on crypto exchanges, and this could signal a supply shock that is coming our way. And this isn't anything new. If we go down to this chart over here from CryptoQuant, what it shows us is that this has been going on for years. I mean, what we are essentially seeing is that since 2022, we have seen these supply on exchanges go down and down and down, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, but we can see that going all the way back to like March and May of 2022 was up at around 3.4 million in terms of Bitcoin supply on exchanges, and then this has just been falling over the course of 2022, 2023, 2024, and now even going into 2025, we're hitting these multi-year lows, and it begs the question, with supply essentially falling and demand having the potential to increase, well, what could that do to the price of Bitcoin? And I think the obvious or the easy answer there is, hey, if we continue to see the supply shrink, while, again, the ETFs and all these other factors are continuing to gobble it up, well, that brings in the most basic law of economics, which is, hey, the asset has to appreciate if the supply is shrinking and demand is increasing. So something to keep an eye out on over here as Bitcoin is continuing to get more rare. I think that this has certainly played a factor in Bitcoin hitting a new all-time high above $100,000 here in recent months. And I think that as this continues to go on for the next 3 years, we're going to continue to see Bitcoin appreciate because of this very statistic, if nothing else. And I think that there's a lot of other catalysts working in the background, such as maybe a reserve, on a federal level, on a state level. You look at the ETFs, you look at retail buyers, you look at other forms of adoption that are happening. I think that there's a lot of other catalysts to consider, but when you put all of this together, it kind of creates this perfect storm where it's hard to imagine Bitcoin actually not appreciating in value when you have a shrinking supply and an increasing amount of demand through several different forms of adoption. And so now if we kind of go over to the charts and we look at what's happening over here, Bitcoin for the most part has just been range bound for a couple of days now, or a couple of months now, excuse me. And ever since we broke kind of above 90K, we've just been going from 90K down here to around 110K, then the 90K to 110K, back down to 90K. And you can see how frequently we have revisited 90K over the last 3 to 4 months, right? All of November, December, January, now February, 90K has been this huge support zone for Bitcoin as it kind of moves up towards 100 or even as high as maybe 109, 110K, depending on the exchange that you're looking at. Now, with the growth of Bitcoin, right, and not only in terms of price, but in adoption, we've seen other companies around the world take a very similar approach to what MicroStrategy has been doing. And one of the most successful ones to do it has been a company out of Japan called Metaplanet. And so what we've seen here is that their stock has soared over 4,800% as Metaplanet has been copying this, again, MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor-like approach. Now, if you haven't been hearing about them or if you haven't been following them, they have just been on the up and up. And if you haven't checked them out, again, I have no affiliation to them. I have no exposure to them, but I think that what they're doing is really cool because they're saying, hey, this works for MicroStrategy. It's a really simple approach to a business, and they have this very simple, straightforward strategy. And guess what? It's working. And when their stock is up almost 5,000%, it's hard to argue that it isn't. Now, I was reading somewhere over in here that, over the past 12 months, this is the largest gain among all Japanese equities in that period, and it's one of the highest globally. So they're saying, hey, we're taking this super easy strategy, super simple strategy, copying the Michael Saylor-like strategy right here, and we're going to apply it, and yet we're one of the highest performing equities globally, and we're the highest performing one in Japan. Now, there's all sorts of companies doing AI and, biomedical stuff, and, who knows, right? You write it, they're probably doing it over there. And yet the top performing one is related to a very simple buy Bitcoin strategy, right? It's a very simple Bitcoin related strategy. So it is kind of funny just saying, hey, despite all the crazy things that all these different companies are working on, the top performing one is this Bitcoin hoarding strategy that is very, very similar to what Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy are doing. So big things are happening around the world. Again, they kind of reference this and say, hey, this is probably partially due to just Bitcoin becoming much more favorable on a global scale. Now, what else is happening around the world? Well, we're seeing some pretty big upgrades come to the altcoin market. Uniswap, for example, is over here releasing their Unichain on mainnet. They're saying, hey, we are entering into a cross-chain world, and that seems to be the big push here. Now, for years, Uniswap has been kind of maybe nervous to do this, and they've been working on this. But there's a lot of things that Uniswap has wanted to do that I think that they have been a little bit nervous to do because of the SEC. Things like this, things like profit sharing, things like, a couple of other, different updates that they've looked at. But now that we can see that everything is becoming a bit more favorable for altcoins, especially the world of DeFi, Uniswap and a lot of these other projects are starting to pump out updates that they have been looking into for quite some time. So this is going to be a pretty big deal because Uniswap is the largest Ethereum-based decentralized exchange. It's one of the largest decentralized exchanges in the world, and people are looking at this as maybe a new standard. So they're making big updates. Stuff's going on mainnet, and we're looking at a lot more to come. Now, alongside this, Lido, another very, very big player in the Ethereum space, is officially unveiling their V3. And so if we go down here, they talk about this a little bit more, and they say, hey, this is going to do some big things for us. And what we are really hoping to do here is that this could bring institutions with the need for compliance and provide operational controls into staking or into the staking ecosystem. So they're saying, hey, we want to actually bring in more institutional clients because of this. That's kind of what it could do. I think that's what they're hoping to see. But again, Lido, another very big player in Ethereum, is making some crucial updates over here. And I think a big part of this is because regulatory conditions are easing across the kind of whole crypto space. We've seen some other stuff that was happening over here, and it talks about it in this article. But Ethereum L2s are trying to be increasingly more interoperable, and we're seeing a really, really big push for this. So if you start reading or watching videos on this in coming weeks, just know that this is actually a really, really big push at the moment, is to make all of this, specifically all the Ethereum L2s, interoperable with one another. Now, kind of continuing on this path of altcoins seeing a bit of success and comeback here, Litecoin and Cardano are performing quite well here in recent days because of them seeing an increased likelihood of an ETF approval. Now, right now, we just have a Bitcoin ETF and we have an Ethereum ETF. People have also speculated that we're going to get an XRP and a Solana ETF because those are the top two candidates. But now we're starting to see a big push for Litecoin and Cardano, which is causing them to kind of turn to the upside. So we started to see some ETFs actually come out of here. And those two, I believe, are not included on this list because it's about a week or two old. But here's a whole list of all of the cryptocurrencies that have ETF applications, like all the related crypto ETFs that are out there right now. and are being, or rather in the application process. So, from start to finish, we can see that there's Bitcoin, there's more Ethereum, there are, whole baskets, Solana, XRP, HBAR. What else? We got Litecoin in here. I saw a Bonk one, a Doge one. The list goes on, but there's a lot of crypto ETFs that are still on the way. And it's easy for people to say, okay, Bitcoin got an ETF, Ethereum got an ETF. We're done for now, right? That seems to only be what people are interested in. And that's just not the case. I mean, look at how many different institutions are filing for this. You have Hashdex, Franklin Templeton, Grayscale, Bitwise, VanEck, 21 Shares, Canary, Wisdom Tree, ProShares. I mean, the list goes on. There's all these different asset managers and providers saying we want a range of different ETFs. And that's something that I've actually got to talk to several of these providers about. And they are all very interested in actually bringing forth more crypto ETFs, especially when it comes to the altcoin markets. And they want to actually be able to create different kinds of funds that hold a number of cryptos. I've had conversations with the 21 Shares team, the Bitwise team, and the Wisdom Tree team all about this very topic. And all of them are very interested in getting more crypto ETFs beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I think that's another thing that we got to watch out for here in the remainder of the year. I say the remainder. We still have the majority of the the majority of the year left, but you get the picture. There's a lot of excitement that's happening out here. And, the Litecoin ETF, for example, is pushing a 90% chance to get an SEC approval. So who knows, before the end of this year, we could have a Litecoin ETF, we could have a Cardano ETF, we could have an XRP and Solana ETF. We could have even more than that as we push into the later parts of this year. But all eyes are still looking very, very positive for the crypto market. And when we're looking at what the catalyst could be to push us further, especially in the altcoin market, I think that we have to consider all of these because there's a lot happening, whether you know it or not. And, 99.9% of it is all extremely optimistic, even though prices might have been consolidating here over the last week or so, right? So anyway, everyone, that is the bulk of what I wanted to talk about in today's video. I just want to make sure the masses know exactly what is going on, what to expect, and what to keep an eye on. So if you did like this video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you are new here, we are appreciative to have you here in the first place. And we hope that you stick around for future videos. Now, if you want to get plugged in to a great crypto community, I want you to go to the link in the description down below. And there we got a couple of different resources, like a book from my good buddy Bryce Paul called The Crypto Revolution. And we also got a really solid crypto community where I am personally one of the analysts over there called Crypt Nation. You can join there. There is thousands of like-minded individuals. You can share your ideas, what you're looking at, your research, your trades, and bounce ideas off of, again, thousands of people who are like-minded and in the same crypto boat as you are. So we hope to see you over there. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see all of you at the same time, same place next week.